everybody, this is Pretty from It's a Pretty World. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm making a video in collaboration with Jaycee Gaspar, and the idea of this card making video was to create a card using very limited supplies and pretty much the same supply. So we both used white Neenah solar white cardstock. The stamp set is from Ellen Hutson. It's called Squeeze the Day. Black ink, I'm using one for my COPIC coloring, and the other black ink I'm using is from Altenew for just stamping my sentiments. Some acrylic blocks, no misty for this project today. I'm also using a ruler and a pencil for what I want to do, which I'll show you eventually, and also a bunch of COPIC colors. So the colors we chose were just the warm tones and one pop of color, which was YG03. And of course the pencil. So here's what I did. I started off with a white note card, and I measured this particular stamp, which is like a slice of lime, and I measured it, and it was about 1.25 inches in diameter. So what I did is I marked 1.5 inches on my white cardstock on all the sides, and then I joined them using my ruler. And that gave me a grid pattern, and the reason I needed that grid pattern was because I wanted to create a very linear pattern using this lime stamp. I'm using this black pad that you see at the bottom, and that helps me to give a crisp, even stamping when I use my acrylic blocks to stamp my stamps. My images, sorry. So I'm starting off by stamping this lime slice right in the top center of that grid, and I'm continuing to lay this lime pieces very close to, if you can see that the next two lime slices, I'm not laying it in the center of the square but a little closer. So I'm trying to scoot the images a bit closer to each other, making sure that the spacing is even. Now, you will see eventually the next line when I start doing the gap between the top line and the bottom line is quite a big gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoot this image a little more up, a little higher than the line that I've drawn. But still, that grid helps me to place my images in the place in a way that they are linear, they are parallel, and they are even. So that was the idea. So anyway, now that I have all my images stamped, all I'm going to do is I'm going to erase that pencil mark before I start laying the COPIC colors. If you start laying the COPIC colors before you erase it, sometimes those colors, those pencil marks will be visible through your COPIC coloring, as the pencil marks gets trapped between the color. Anyway, so I'm starting off, I'll just show you one line that I'm going to color and eventually color the rest off camera. What I did is I took this darkest color, in my case is W9, and I'm just laying it on the outer part of the lime slice, and that to me is the rind of the lime. And it also, because you put a darker color, it shows like the lime is curving a bit from the outside. So I'm just laying that, and then also I'm laying the same dark color inside. So the pulp of the lime is going to be upwards, so the core of it, where the pulp sits, is going to be deeper and set in. So I'm laying those darker shadows in those places where I think would be darker. It's just to show the triangles there, which is the pulp of the lime, upwards, or a little, how do I explain that, like it's over the surface. After I've put the W9, I'm going to blend this using my W7. I just am trying to add a little bit on the edges of that pulp, just to again show that it is inset, that it's inside, that the pulp is like it's set inside. And then I'm going to blend that whole thing with W5. So you can see a little bit of color variation from the rind, which is really, really dark, and then the core that is inside the rind, which is a little lighter. Now I'm going to start coloring my pulp. And for this, I'm starting off with my W5 and laying the shadow on just the left side of the triangular images. And once I'm done laying the W5, I'm going to blend this using the W3 marker. And when you're blending, just make sure you're coloring over the last color multiple times until you see the line vanishing, and then move a little forward into the whiter space. And when I'm done with my W3, I'm going to take W1, which is my lightest color, and I'm going to add that to the remaining part of the pulp, and that kind of shows that this is a little bit bulged up, or a little bit on top, or like it's sitting on top of that inset rind. And then to create some texture, I took the lightest warm gray marker, in my case is W00. What I did is, I'll show you the pattern in a bit. Here you go. I took the, like, hold the pen in an angle, so you're creating tiny teardrop shape, and then you draw them in between two dots, like you add dots and then you go in between it and then between it. So that creates a little bit of texture and shows that citrusy feel to the lime. Now, the first time I lay it, you really can't see it much, but I'm going to go over the same place once more with my W00 marker, and that will help it to show a little bit better. And the reason for that is W00 marker has a lot more blending solution in it, and that helps to remove the color from the base, and that's what creates that texture. And now you can see, I'm going to show it closer to the camera in a bit once I'm done doing it. Once again, you can already start seeing that texture developing as I'm laying this W00 marker. But once I'm done laying, and then as it dries, it's going to get brighter as well. And there you go, you can see that a little bit more clearly. And I'm going to complete this entire panel, and here you go, I'm going to show it to you in a bit. There you go, it's all done. I colored exactly the same way the entire panel, off camera of course, and then what I did is I cut it down smaller in size. So all I wanted was 6 by 4 limes in like 3 by 4, so 3 horizontal and 4 vertical limes to create a pattern. And then I took the YG03 pen and I added it to the bottom of a white cardstock, and I stamped this image, stamped the sentiment which said "just dropping you a lime," which is a really fun what you call fun sentiment. And I'm just adding that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that using my paper trimmer, and I'm going to add that to the bottom of my colored panel. But I'm also going to take some, there's another stamp in this image, in the stamp set, which is which is it's 3 clusters. It's flowers. It's a flower cluster of 3 flowers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp it using the same black ink, COPIC friendly ink, and I'm going to color that using the same colors. So for this, I'm going to start off with YG03 in the center, just flicking very, very lightly. YG03 is not a very deep color. It's a bright color, but it's quite light. When it's quite a light color too. So I'm just adding that to the center of the flower, and then I'm going to take W1 marker and I'm going to start laying just 2 lines to show petals. Now when I started off originally with W1, the first time when I laid W1, I realized W1 wasn't even visible, so it wasn't doing much of anything on this flower. So then what I did is I took W3 instead and went over the same lines to show those petals, and you will see that in a bit. You can see as I'm laying W1, you can hardly see those petals that I'm talking about. But when I do that with W3, you can see a lot more of that petal indication, like the curving of the petal and moving of the petal with the W3. And then I just fussy cut this entire image. I actually cut them individually. I cut them into 3 flowers using just a plain old scissors, and you'll see that in a bit when I'm done coloring this entire image. There you go. You can see those flowers that I cut them. And then that's my daughter saying hi. And then what I did is I mounted the sentiment using foam tape, not exactly very close to the bottom, but a little above that lime, about the 3 limes at the very bottom, and then I place these flower clusters. Like I placed the 2 right in this spot here where it was empty, and then I also placed another flower in the bottom of the sentiment. And then I also took the green marker once again, and the dot like this, the center of the lime is like it's white, so I added green there. But before that, of course, I added this panel onto a white note card, top folding note card, using foam adhesive once again in a diagonal manner. And then, as I told you, I took this green marker, added that center dot, and I also added a bit more of green to the center of the limes just to add in some more color. And that pretty much completed the card. Head over to Jaycee's YouTube channel as well and see what he has come up with and his idea. And this is just to encourage you to look at your products in a different way. It's not really necessary for you to buy all the products out there. Even with what you have, very limited, using your imagination, you can create a lot of cards with the same products. So I hope you're inspired and motivated to create and look at your products in a different way. Don't forget to go to Jaycee's YouTube, give him some love, show him some love, and please leave us a comment telling us what you think about this idea. And I really would love to hear from you. And please remember to subscribe to my channel as well as Jaycee's channel. And here is a close-up of this image, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.